We talk a lot about what makes a great salesperson. And we're going to do some of that today again. But now we're going to talk about what does it take to build a great team in the most difficult of selling situations. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. A great sales leader is joining us who worked his way up at a very difficult product, I think, to sell. Very complicated, long-term, high-cost product that is not easy to sell. Sound familiar? I hope it does. Hey, also at the end, I'll sum up what's going on in the courses. We've had enormous amounts of one-on-ones and the office hours where people are really sharing how they're applying the course to get the success that they want, getting new meetings, getting the biggest deals in their company's history done. So if you're interested in that and you're already in the course, check them out. The office hours is the second to the last chapter. With the most recent ones at the bottom. Just work your way up, I would recommend. And the one-on-ones are labeled. I would pick the ones that apply to the problem that you're trying to solve right now. Because the one-on-ones are great because you get to hear an interactive discussion about solving a particular problem. Also, you're checking out YouTube. I'm putting up all my interviews up there. So all the interviews from the show will be put up on YouTube so you can watch them on video format with no intro or outro, if you like that or don't like that. Also, I keep my humorous videos up there too if you want to share them or just watch them over and over again. I also post them on LinkedIn. Let's get into the interview. I'll sum it up at the end. Here we go. Hey, Jason, welcome to the show. As way getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I appreciate you having me. I am currently a Vice President of Business Development for Signature Systems Group, which is a Texas-based company that specializes in temporary access solutions, ground protection, essentially helping people to safely get places that they otherwise couldn't get to or protect surfaces that are sensitive. I've been with the company for about 13 years, from when it was a really small one location company to today where we're a much larger organization with a global footprint and a much larger team.
Cool. How big is your team?
So I work with a team of about 10 salespeople, servicing primarily the transmission distribution, oil and gas, infrastructure, military, and stadium and large global events markets.
Wow. Sounds like an easy to access group of people.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a niche business, which makes it interesting, ever changing, obviously in today's economic climate, one that requires consistent, refocus and flexibility and, proper allocation of resources, but something that keeps me on my toes, and a place that I really enjoy.
Yeah. And you worked your way up from a rep to...
I did. Yeah, I was the 13th employee hired, and I was hired as just at the time it was called the general sales position. And from there, I just kind of worked my way up. I took on responsibility, any opportunity that I had. I started new divisions. I took on more responsibility, built a team. I worked my way up to a sales management role, and then a vice president role, and that's where I sit today in a vice president. So kind of a good climbing the ladder, promoted from within story.
And what was it like being one of the first employees, especially when you were remote? Right?
So, at the time I was not a remote employee. We were headquartered in New York City. I was hired by the founder of the organization, who was a tremendous leader, and somebody that I learned a lot from. At that time, it was exciting. I mean, we were like a startup company that was beyond the heartaches and the pressure of a startup. A lot of fun, located in Midtown Manhattan. And it was a team full of doers. So we would figure out a way to make it happen. And it was just constantly finding ways to make deals, gain advantages in the market. And the focus was just on hyper growth. Let's figure out how do we grow this business. And that was just a really, really fun time, and having spent the last 13 years going through those various growth phases and the different challenges that come with each has been an awesome ride. It's just been something I've really enjoyed.
And was there a big market in New York City for the product?
No, it's funny. Most of our customers were from everywhere else.
Everywhere. I was wondering. It was like Midtown. I didn't know. Didn't sound like the epicenter for that business.
No, the founder was a New Yorker, and he founded the business in a tiny little office, and the business grew, and we quickly realized that all of our business was elsewhere. And so we relocated to the Dallas area in 2015, I guess. And now we have remote reps kind of all over the country and as well as Europe. So New York was not our core business.
Yeah. Because it sounds like it's a face-to-face sale that you'd have to show the product. And
it is. There's a lot of face-to-face. It's relatively large dollar volume stuff. There are long sales cycles. It could be, working on a 150-mile transmission line one day, working on the Tokyo Olympics the next. So they're typically pretty large investments. There's a lot of stakeholders involved in the decision-making process. So there is a lot of, I would say, face-to-face time.
And who owns that problem? Is it facilities? Is it security?
So it really depends on the market. On the stadium side, you may have a director of stadium operations. On the industrial side of the business, there's probably more stakeholders. There's everywhere from a project manager to a health and safety manager to asset or fleet management, all the way up to the C-suite. So there's a lot of stakeholders, I would say, that are involved.
And are you guys a well-known name, whether you get inbound, or is it something that you really have to go hunting for?
So it used to be more inbound when we first started, and you run those PPC campaigns, and the phones ring off the hook, and the email comes in. But then you hit a point where that starts to plateau, right? That you have to start to go out and target new business and create some outbound efforts, and that's kind of where we're at today. A lot more of our business, we're well known in the industry. We're one of, I would say, we're the top two in each of the segments that we service. So we still do get inbound inquiries. We do have good name recognition, but today it's really more about going out and finding that larger customer base, creating conversion from older, less reliable solutions to our, more modern, safer, more operationally efficient options. So. Yeah.
And what's your biggest challenge? Is it trying to balance the pipeline, or is it trying to find people who could figure out how to sell this? Or
the pipeline is always the funny one. It's great. It's tricky because we're in a business where when our customers need the product, that's when they buy the product. So it's difficult for us to go out and create demand. The need kind of creates itself, and it's our responsibility as a team to make sure that we've fostered the right relationships, we've added value any opportunity that we can, we've met the right people, we've stayed in touch, so that when the opportunity arises, that's when we're able to capitalize. So it becomes somewhat difficult as you're kind of reporting up the chain from a predictability standpoint, because it's a really unpredictable business, and if it's unpredictable for our customers. So it's really about managing behavior, managing attitude. Those are the things that we can control as business leaders. So that's really where I try to spend a lot of my time.
And how about as far as recruiting people that can talk to such diverse audience, from operations, security, financial?
Yeah, it's a great question. You have to have a lot of hats in the closet, so to speak. And you could be out there in work boots on a job site one day talking to somebody who is responsible for making sure that a safe access roadway is built. And the next day you're sitting in front of a CFO or a CEO. So it's important to be able to relate to a lot of people. And to me, it really comes down to some basic stuff. Authentic connections, right? If you know when to talk and when to listen, and you develop lasting relationships with people and really at that authentic level, then you can relate to anybody, and talk to anybody.
And so you look for people with a certain background or experience level?
So recruiting is difficult. You asked that question, and to me, good salespeople follow a good process, right? They have a process in mind, and there are a lot of them out there. But I guess a given is that you have the ability to relate to people, right? We interview a lot of people, and I say, "Why should we hire you?" And they say, "Well, I'm great at building relationships." And that's a basic, right? In sales, you have to be great at building relationships. But what the great salespeople do and what the most successful people at our company do is they have a sales process in mind, right? And that's all the way from, building rapport with a customer, to understanding what the customer pain is, to really defining what the goals and objectives of that particular call or that meeting might be, setting up, some upfront contracts and understanding what the desired outcome of the call is, and then making sure that you recap and then hold the prospect or the customer accountable to that next step, whether it's a phone call or a meeting. So having a sales process more than just being friendly and building rapport, that is, to me, what it takes to be successful, and it's a challenge to find it in the market.
Yeah, because a lot of people know how to do the simple sale, that, nice call, upfront contract, find a problem, have a next step. But if they don't understand how the company buys or how companies buy, how do they allocate money?
One of the things I like to tell the reps or talk to the reps about is customers buy for their reasons, not for our reasons.
I figure.
So understanding what those reasons are, understanding what that process is, and then making sure that we align our ability to meet that need. So,
because it sounds like once it becomes a priority, it is a priority. Up until then, it's a nice to know what it's out there.
Correct. That's absolutely right. It's difficult to, like I said, difficult to create the demand, but once somebody has identified that they have a need, then it becomes a must-have. Almost.
Yeah. And do you find many reps understand how companies buy?
Not enough. If they did, then I wouldn't be sitting where I am today. But I would say, we spend a lot of time as leaders trying to develop the team, right? That's one of the things that leadership is really about, is developing the team, right? Helping them to learn a new skill or to figure out what it takes to understand why a company buys, or what a buy cycle might look like, or what the decision-making process timeline is. So, I try to spend a lot of my time with the reps. Not, of course, we spend time with the blocking and tackling, but it's the game planning, where you really, and that's where you get buy-in from your team as well. When they start to understand that you're trying to develop them. We, like every organization, we have a ways to go, but we have a lot of great members of our team.
And what differentiates the top people from the middle of the pack?
I would say that passion and enthusiasm for what they do is where it starts. The people that enjoy their role, enjoy selling in general, the competitive nature of that, are interested in the markets that we service and really becoming kind of immersed in that world. And then, a lot, like I said, following a sales process is important. And then, like most things, putting in the work, right? Everybody says that they work hard, but the people that really strive to understand are the people that do the best.
Yeah. And how about as far as what you've learned as a leader? How have you grown in that direction?
So one of the things that I think I went into a leadership role kind of approaching it from the golden rule perspective of, treat others how you want to be treated. And over time, I think that the golden rule really should be to treat others how they want to be treated. And you can't, as a leader, approach everybody the same way.
Right.
You really have to understand what is it that makes them tick, not what makes me tick, and then I force it upon them. So understanding, what is important to them. Is it monetary growth? Is it understanding the markets better? Is it a title change? Is it, wanting to win? And so, learning that you need to understand people really well and make personal connections with them, and then lead them in a way that aligns, in a way that they can relate to. And I definitely didn't do that at the beginning of my career, and I still have a ways to go, but I think I'm getting better.
I think a lot of leaders find that because they think everyone's motivated for the same reasons that they are.
Yeah, for sure.
And they kind of look for soldiers, like, treat everybody identical.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be treated identical. It's like, the guy who crushes it don't want to be treated like the guy who's on a plan, right?
Right. Yeah. The soldier mentality is an interesting one, and one that we talk about a lot. And great businesses don't want soldiers either. Great businesses want future leaders. That's how you create a great business.
Right. You want superstars.
That's right.
Because I don't know if you've studied Price's Law, but the people who produce the most are the ones you want to keep and nurture. And instead, what leaders do, let's just take the territory and even it out.
Yeah.
And why did you stay at the same company? I mean, that's very unusual today.
It is. And for myself, I kind of early in my career, I wouldn't say I hopped around, but 2 years, then somewhere else, maybe 2 years. And early in my career here, I saw potential for growth, but mostly what I saw was that I loved the industry. I loved the customers. I've always been interested in sales, but this was an industry that I saw we were kind of at the leading edge of. There was a lot of opportunity for innovation in the space. There was conversion to the types of products that we were offering. But at the end of the day, I was able to really relate to the customers. Whether it was on the stadium side, it's sports, or on the equipment rental side, I was in, rental early in my career. And so I just became really passionate about ground protection, really, plastic modular flooring, which is crazy. Probably not many people.
Pins and needles.
But it was a passion and enthusiasm for what I was doing that has kept me. We've had some great leaders in our business, and the market growth opportunity is there, and it's just a place that ultimately I stay because it doesn't feel like work to me. I enjoy what I do.
Well, I got to imagine visiting stadiums and stuff is pretty interesting.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm a sports fan, and having been involved in Olympic Games and Pan Am Games and NHL Winter Classics and stadium concerts for Taylor Swift or whomever is exciting. And there's a certain adrenaline rush that comes with knowing that if you fail, it's an epic failure. Everybody's going to know about it. There's no hiding. You better deliver. It's super high stakes, because the flip side of that is when you do deliver and it does work and you have done what you said you're going to do, it's just an incredible feeling. It's a huge rush of feeling that success. So,
and what motivates you most as a leader?
I would say the success of my teammates. When I see one of my teammates, bring on a new account or, land a deal that, was the biggest deal that they've ever had, or taken a project away from a competitor, that I just love seeing that, seeing other people start to realize, some of their goals, and watching that growth as you build trust with your team, and then they start to buy in, and then you empower them, and you allow them to use their judgment, right, to decide what they're going to do, and then you recap, right? There's some wins, there's some losses, you provide feedback, but over time you're developing that confidence. And then you're seeing them making decisions on their own. You're seeing them taking charge. And so really seeing that development of somebody who, day one is asking, if they can go to the bathroom, to, down the road, they're making high stakes decision and the right decision. So that's what really drives and motivates me, is that seeing the success of the others, because as your team succeeds, then the business succeeds. So.
And how do you engage them in that? Because you don't want them to make the bad decision. I mean, and sometimes where they're just going down the wrong path.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just about being able to have an open relationship with your team. And once you build respect and trust, I find that a lot of that goes away, right? They start to understand, what are the parameters for me to make a decision that is not going to be catastrophic if it's wrong? When are the times that I need to engage somebody else? So I find that just by being open, being accessible, being a sounding board, and then, constantly talking to people about what they're doing. Why did you do that? Did you think about this? And then over time, that's just how you engage them. And it's not forced. It's just a collaborative environment where they feel comfortable.
That's it, because as a rep, you typically don't want to face a lot of the things that could really go wrong. But as a leader, you're kind of like thinking, what can go wrong?
Yeah. I find myself often asking, well, have you thought about this, or what would happen if? And you can tell they're like, oh, geez, I didn't think of that, but that's part of it, right? And I find that a lot of them, the light bulb goes off and it clicks, and they get it, right? And when you have a good relationship with the team, they're not offended by it, they're not threatened by it. That is part of the job of a leader, is to think about what could go wrong, and how do we mitigate the possibility of that as much as we can, because inevitably stuff goes wrong. We can't control it all.
It's the nature of sales.
That's right.
It's unusual for things to go right.
Yeah.
And have you made any hiring mistakes? Any lessons learned there?
Yeah, for sure. We've hired some people that maybe were, known in the industry, or we thought that they were the expert. And I think a lot of organizations do that, right? We're not alone. You look out and the grass is always greener. Yeah. And that's for everything, right? You look out and you say, wow, this rep got that job. They must be amazing. And you follow them, right? And then you bring them on board and you realize, geez, maybe they're not a great cultural fit for the organization, or maybe they, step over the line, or maybe they have make questionable ethical decisions. And so we've had that. I think as an organization, you constantly strive to hire the best. You constantly evaluate the talent that you have. You try to develop them. They have to be able to have the basic skill set, but they have to fit in culturally as well. Because like any team, if you have one guy that's not carrying their weight, or they're spreading negativity or dragging the rest of the team down, they may be a superstar individually, right. But you're not. That's not how you win championships.
Right. And do the reps have to work together, or is it more they have to work within the company's ecosystem?
So our team does work very collaboratively together, because there is a lot of opportunities where one rep's account may be working in another rep's region, or you may have multiple companies bidding on the same project. So we have an environment where we talk all the time. I talk to the reps multiple times weekly. We have meetings where we're discussing what projects are out there, and that's if you build a team and you promote teamwork, then your team works well together. You don't have people going around this guy to get their customer better pricing, or trying to cut somebody out of a deal. And so internally, we really try to promote that teamwork aspect. And so the reps, then it's not forced, right? That's our culture, and that's how we operate. So
because a lot of sales leaders pin each other against each other, which can be toxic at times.
Yeah, we definitely don't have that. I would say we still have good competitive banter, I would say, where yeah, where everybody wants to, they want to be the best guy. They want to,
Sure.
they want to get the deal, but never at the expense of what's best for our customer. And that's really the expectation that we've set.
Yeah.
And so, we don't pit people against each other. That you win maybe in the short term that way, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah. And have you found a particular background that fits the company really well? Like you talked about athletics.
Yeah, I would say athletes have done pretty well, and I think that a lot of that comes from, athletes tend to be competitive by nature. If you were a team captain or something, maybe you have some good leadership skills. Athletes that played at a high level tend to be pretty self-motivated, so you're not babysitting. You're just you're guiding. They tend to have great work ethic and be focused. They tend to create and set goals for themselves that maybe supersede that of the company. So I would say athletes have done pretty well in our industry.
And they've always had a coach too. So they've always depended on not depended, but accepted feedback from other people.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Where, because I've seen this pattern of performance professions come from performance backgrounds, athletes, performing arts, because if you play an instrument, you have an instructor.
Right.
And nothing's natural, so that everything's awkward at the beginning. And you're taking instruction all the time.
Yeah.
And to become great at sales, you got to get feedback from other people.
Absolutely.
It'll take forever for you to accept it from the marketplace because it's false positives sometimes and false negatives.
A lot of the time.
Yeah. And you haven't used the word coaching, but you just have a coaching style naturally, or?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of how I approach the team, is that of a coach, in helping, if I think back to some of the most influential people in my, background, it was my coaches, my athletic coaches, and they do have a way of, communicating a goal set, understanding what the game plan may be, allowing individuals to, develop maybe their weaknesses, understand what their contribution to the team is. So that, that's what I try to do. I try to develop the team, whether it be advancing an account or overcoming an objection on a specific opportunity, or, how to identify customers, or sometimes it's just giving them a hug, showing them a little love, and picking them up. So I would say coaching is my preferred style.
And are you one of the people hate to lose or love to win?
Both. I definitely hate losing, but as I've gotten a little bit older, you start to understand that it's inevitable, right? You can't.
No one wins every time. Yeah.
So the sweet taste of victory is awesome, and I still hate losing. But I try to take losing and figure out where did we lose, right? Yeah. Where did we go wrong? What could we have done differently? How to identify that might be happening again before it happens, and what do we do to fix it? So I still hate to lose, but I sure love to win.
Sure. Great. Hey, it's been a fun conversation. Where can people go to connect with you and learn more about your work?
So they can visit my LinkedIn page, which is just Jason Frew. They can reach me at my email address, which is jfrew, Frew, @signaturecorp.com, or they can reach out to me on my mobile number, which is 603-540-5127.
It's great when you hear a leader just talking about connecting with their reps. Because coaching isn't this thing you do to somebody. It's something you do with them. You guide them through the thought process that they need to go through. You ask them questions that lead them to the conclusion that they want to get to, but sometimes they don't want to face the reality, the hard questions. And that's really what we're doing with our clients. We're kind of coaching them through a decision-making process. And to do that, we have to ask some hard questions, some questions that may make them feel a little uncomfortable at times, make us feel a little uncomfortable at times. But if we don't ask them, we're going to be viewed as a vendor. We got to dissect and dive into how they are making their decision and how to guide them through that process. If you get treated like a vendor, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to connect with them, have that partner in crime rapport, that partner in crime relationship with them. And that's hard to do. And the key is to not act like a salesperson. Now, what better skill would you like to have today other than the superpower of starting a conversation and getting a meeting with pretty much anybody you want? Now, what if there was a system to do that wasn't pitchy, wasn't cold call-y, wasn't sleazy at all, wasn't gimmicky, but was organic, that was based off of neuroscience, based off of how people think, and time-tested over decades? This has been my life's work, has been the complex sale. But when I went out on my own, getting meetings and conversations started was really hard. I had never sold to a VP of sales. Didn't really like many VPs of sales. Some were great, some not so much. But I had to do it. That was my customer. I wanted to do sales, training, and consulting. So I had to slow it down. I had to come up with a system. And I wasn't really into cold calling and hadn't been in a long time. And relationships only get you so much. Referrals only get you so much. So I had to start from scratch with these people. And what I did is I built a system. And then I started teaching the system. And now I've been teaching it online. And the fun part about doing it online is you get put into so many difficult situations. And to have the breakthrough that people have is just so exciting. Because when you hear, man, I got my week booked with qualified conversations. Now, are they deals? Maybe, hopefully. Who knows? You have to develop that into a deal. And that is so exciting to see people grow and get excited to buy it. Because let me ask you right now, how many cold, like people you don't know, they don't know you, you don't know them, they're not already a customer, they're not an upsell, they weren't a lead that was sent to you. How many of those meetings and conversations are you having a week? And are they turning into anything? Most of the people I talk to, it's in the single digits, if even a single, well, zero is a single digit, isn't it? And it's not much fun because nobody likes rejection. Even me. I'm used to it, but I still don't like it, even after all these years. So check out the course, start the conversation, get the meeting. Now, both courses have the two components to them. The office hours, which is an hour meetup every other Friday for 1 hour. It's a conversation, discussion, case study based. They're all recorded and put into the course in video format. So you get to hear how other people are solving a particular problem, get a little bit of a lesson, a little bunch of case studies, a bunch of discussions, and it's a great way to learn. And all of them are there from day one. So there's probably about 50 to 75 hours of them by now. And you get to listen to the one-on-ones, the coaching calls, see how other people are selling to that persona and how they're having success. The other part is one-on-ones. You get to schedule your own one-on-one, which is a half-hour Zoom call with me, applying the course to your particular situation. Now, doesn't that sound like fun? All of this is included in the price. You can pay in 12 monthly payments. It's not a membership. Or in one bulk payment. And if you look at it not so much as a course, but a skills development, a year to become excellent at closing the complex sale and getting meetings. Think of it that way. If you look at it as a course, it's just knowledge. I'm not just teaching you how to do it. You're doing it. And you're having success, and it may be some bumps in the road, but you get to polish it up so that over the year you become better and better at it, and you're able to scale it. And that's when it becomes really exciting, when people are really at the top end of their income level. That's it. Hey, make sure you're checking out our friends over at Co-Video. We appreciate them helping support the podcast. Video email is the future. Check it out. I think you'll like it. If you see my stuff flying by on your feed on LinkedIn, please give it a thumbs up. A little comment, a little share would be appreciated. Tell a friend about the podcast. Check out the other two podcasts, B2B Revenue Leadership and the Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers. Come on, Brian, don't remember our own podcast. Too many of them. We'll see you next time.